This week on Illegal Aliens, Liz and Maria model their underwear, Isabel becomes a joiner, and Max adds lawn care to his list of potential careers. Grab your flashlight and pick out a warm hat because we're looking at Into the Woods, episode 12 of season 1 of Roswell. I'm Chris.
And I'm Claire, and this is Illegal Aliens, a Roswell podcast. Into the Woods first aired on January 26, 2000.
It was written by Thania St. John, who we last saw writing on The Balance, and directed by Nick Mark.
And this is the only episode of Roswell that Nick Mark directed, but he directed also for The Wonder Years, Northern Exposure, Buffy, and Veronica Mars, among other great shows. Let's start the recap.
Out in Fraser Woods, there's a blinding flash of light, startling a couple who've come out into the forest to be together, and across town at the crashdown, the power flickers.
Liz is enduring the start of a cold when Maria arrives full of excitement, optimism, and a fake piercing. Liz takes the ring to prank her father, who's excited about the upcoming father and child camping weekend. Liz tries to tell her dad she's outgrown camping with him, and Milton rushes in looking for Max to tell him there's been a sighting.
In the UFO Center, Milton lists the witnesses for Max and the reasons he's sure this flash of light in Fraser Woods isn't a hoax. Max is doubtful until he learns that the sighting was near the Indian reservation.
At school, Maria glories in her new aqua bra, but high spirits come crashing down when Liz spots Max going into the eraser room, followed by Michael. Alex approaches Isabel to ask her to a foreign film festival, and once Isabel counteroffers with a normal movie, she joins Max and Michael for a private chat.
Max briefs them on the alien sighting, the nearness to River Dog's cave, and how Valenti has closed off the area. Max and Isabel agree to join the camping trip as an alibi for getting lost in the woods, but this leaves Michael out as he doesn't have a father to take him.
Above the crashdown, Liz's father makes one more pitch on the benefits of camping, and Liz agrees to go, though she's uncomfortable when Dad says he hopes he can get to know Michael, Max, and Isabel better. At the trailer park, Michael clashes with his foster father, and Michael is storming off when he spots River Dog, who says the sighting was real and he's seen it before.
Liz begs Maria to accompany her over the weekend, eventually convincing her with a combined bribe of cash and homework. Liz pays the bribe, Maria offers herbal cold medicine, and it looks like a suspicious transaction to Jeff Parker.
At the sheriff's station, Deputy Hanson condescends to Kyle with root beer, and Jim rants about one of the sighting witnesses selling out to a national media. Kyle reminds his dad about buying a tent, but Jim says Kyle will have to share a tent with the coach instead, because he's too busy for camping this weekend.
Over lunch at the crashdown, Michael tells Max and Isabel that River Dog is actually Nasedo and his father, but Isabel can't hide her doubts. Maria boasts to Michael and Max about made-up dates with college guys.
At the schoolyard, Liz and Maria panic when they spot Max with his father and Isabel, and when they realize that the college guy story won't hold up. Alex has dragged his father out for camping, both completely under-equipped, and Valenti shows up at the 11th hour with a new tent. When he spots Max and Isabel waiting to get on the bus, he calls to request extra security around the perimeter.
At Fraser Woods, Isabel worries that their plan is too risky with Valenti right there. Everybody chooses this camping spot next to the Evanses.
Kyle tells alien stories at the campfire. Max plays cards with the three dads, and Isabel points constellations out to Alex. But Alex tries to reschedule their film, calls it a date, and Isabel panics. She thought Alex knew she couldn't get involved that way, and walks away.
Max and Liz talk over by the water pump. Max just wanted things to slow down, not stop completely. Liz points out that he should let her in. She knows he's in Fraser Woods because of the alien sighting and reminds Max that he made her a part of what's going on.
River Dog comes to Michael's trailer. He says it's time and they set off together.
Jeff Parker finds the cold medicine and wants an explanation from Liz. She gives it, and he confesses that lately he's felt she's growing up too quickly. He still wants to be a part of Liz's life, and doesn't know how to do that without intruding on her privacy.
Later, Liz follows Max and Isabel into the woods. Max tries to send her back, and Maria appears, thinking that Max and Liz have snuck off for romance, and Liz tells her about the sighting. They set out together after Max and Isabel, and Valenti follows at a distance.
Jeff Parker wakes up to find Liz and Maria missing. Out in the woods, as search dogs get nearer, Liz tells Max and Isabel to keep going. She and Maria call the dogs to them, saying they were lost in the woods, while Max and Isabel get their answers.
River Dog leads Michael through Fraser's woods, but stumbles over a log and breaks his ankle. He tells Michael where to go, and Michael asks why he doesn't fix his ankle. Riverdog is confused for a moment, then realizes and breaks the news that no, he's not Michael's father. Michael reaches out and, with a flashback to the healing ritual, mends the ankle.
The deputies reunite Liz with her father and drag Milton off to a squad car, but Philip Evans is worried that nobody knows where his kids are.
At the cave, Valenti watches Max and Isabel, but is surprised by Kyle asking him tough questions. Riverdog and Michael arrive too, surprised to find the others there.
Riverdog shows Isabel, Max, and Michael one of the symbols from the cave, scorched into the grass. It glows as they move their hands over it, and Michael says it means Nasedo has come back. As Valenti approaches, Michael and Isabel stall him, and Max uses his powers to erase the symbol, leaving the grass untouched. Max thanks Valenti, saying they've been lost for hours.
Valenti arrives at the nursing home to see his father. He apologizes and helps him to eat a bowl of pears.
Right. So, quite a lot going on in this episode.
There is.
And I think I wanted to start with the sighting itself, because I was trying to figure out, okay, exactly what was Nasedo trying to do with all of this.
Oh, I'm so glad. Not just me.
And I think I have a few ideas, but they definitely lead me in the direction of the fact that it's really got very little to do with the kids.
Okay, I'm interested because I have no theories.
Okay. So it seems to me that a lot of this seems like showmanship. He has shown himself to try and get everybody focusing on the woods. And one clue to this leads to, there's a bit in Valenti's office where he mentions that Agent Stevens is also interested and that he wants to beat Stevens to finding whatever it is.
And I thought that was an awful lot of flash and show for
Yes.
what might as well be, could just be dry lightning.
Yeah, so I was wondering, for instance, if Nasedo actually wanted to lure Agent Stevens into a situation where he could be attacked out in the woods.
It's certainly possible.
Either that, or it's sleight of hand, and Nasedo was trying to go, okay, everybody look at the woods, look at the woods, look at the woods.
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. Yeah.
Yes. And actually, for instance, he might be sneaking into Agent Stevens' field office in Santa Fe and doing who knows what.
Well, that's entirely possible. It's difficult because we don't see any of it, so it kind of leaves me feeling like we've raised a lot of questions that we don't actually answer in this episode.
That is unfortunately very true, I think.
We're still suspended narratively in the middle of this story.
We are.
But that's okay. You need episodes like that sometimes.
Yeah, it does help set up a few things that will get us through the next few episodes, so I think that works well enough for what it is. And a whole bunch of kind of little moments that are nodding towards themes, including Liz growing a backbone and getting very resolved about certain things, and kind of almost the twin decisions of going with Max because she says it's her place to go, and staying behind because she decides that it's more important that he be able to go on without a fear of pursuit than that she be there for the end.
Yes. I think that's part of... I mean, we've seen Liz growing a backbone very slowly through the previous episode, too, as she started, you've got to let me in, you've got to let other people do things for you, Max.
Yes.
But certainly this is the moment where she commits, really, and irrevocably to this cause.
Yeah. And I do like both kind of her determination to make herself a part of it and kind of the wisdom to see that she doesn't need to be at the very center of it to be valuable.
Yes. That it's just as vital to have people on the sides
Yes.
doing the work there. It's, what is it, they also serve to only stand and wait?
Yeah, and also kind of oddly reminds me, in an unusual sporting metaphor, of the assist in hockey, for instance, the one who passes the puck to the person who actually scores.
Of course. Of course.
Himself. Yes.
And yeah, they do in fact prove vital here, Liz and Maria, because there's no way they would get to that alien symbol, I think, undeterred if they
Yes.
didn't go off to the side and flag down those dogs.
Yes. Yes, or at least that somebody had to go off and flag down the dogs. I'm not entirely sure that it needed to be both of them.
No, but it does make more sense if it's both of them.
Okay, yeah.
I think, just because we've seen that Liz under pressure doesn't do well with lying, and Maria sometimes
Yes.
does, and at least this way they have a plausible cover story.
Yeah, yeah, I think that does make some sense. All right.
But what frustrates me a bit is the woods itself, because I feel like I want it to be ardent. I want them to have these moments, or even Midsummer Night's Dream, I want them to go in and have confrontations and come out changed, but we're not doing that, not with everybody.
Not really.
So we get a bit of it
I
with Michael, we get some of that with Kyle, but that's not really the story we're telling.
Yes, yes, and I have to admit I found it very off-putting that Max and Isabel have to go through all of these trials to get to the cave. And aside from Riverdog tripping, Riverdog and Michael don't seem to have any of the same challenges.
Well, and I think that's it, because last episode, a couple of episodes ago, they were able simply to drive out to the reservation and walk to the cave
Yeah,
without all these. So it feels a lot like we're moving people around for the sake of a lot of moving around.
yeah. Now it could be that, like, since they talked about Valenti having people kind of guarding a perimeter, it's possible that the others kind of drew people away to look for Max and Liz and the others, and that kind of almost created an opening that Riverdog and Michael could wander through without even realizing that there was
But they
a
have to.
border there.
Michael and Riverdog have to have driven some of that, right? Because otherwise they walked in shockingly short time from the trailer park to the woods to the
Oh,
destination.
yes. Yeah, yeah, they would definitely have needed a vehicle at some point along the way.
Okay. I mean, I'm sort of impressed with the walking as it is, because they say vaguely, oh, 3 or 4 miles off is this thing. And then Maria says, we've been
Yes.
walking for about an hour. I'm thinking, you've been walking 3 miles in. I don't know half a mile of that.
Yeah.
But reality, no defense for fiction. If
Yes.
it takes them an hour to walk 3 miles, that's a good narrative choice.
Yeah. Yeah. Now at this point, I'm actually wishing that we got to see Riverdog struggling with an old beater of a car or something.
That would be quite good. Or even just the Jeep,
Yes.
since we know that Max and Isabel went out there on the bus.
Right.
And I suppose this is the first time we see someone other than Max has that ability to heal, isn't it?
Yes.
Which surprised me.
It did.
I'd misremembered that, so that'll be something to track as we go through.
Yeah, yeah. I think that they have suggested in a few other places that Michael kind of has picked up a few tricks but doesn't have the full extent of Max's healing ability. But for instance,
Yeah, he's got a sort
can
of.
work fairly well with bones and such.
Yes, he's got a bit of a smorgasbord of alien powers,
Yeah, yeah,
and they come and go as needed as he masters them, I suppose.
yeah, yeah.
But I think what I do find particularly interesting about them is what Riverdog says at the end about now the debt is repaid. Michael says, I don't know
Right.
that it ever will be.
Yeah,
And I suppose that goes back a bit to what we were talking about last episode and Michael's difficulty receiving help from other people.
right. Yeah,
Even though Riverdog makes him, well, presumably much less vulnerable than Maria does.
right. Yeah, but it's interesting, kind of on the same side of Riverdog being the one who wants to have the scales even out rather than having a debt owing.
Yes, this is the thing. They might not be related, but they have that same checks and balances outlook on the world.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, and I have to admit, I found it so powerful, the notion that Michael's longing for a father figure was so palpable that Riverdog could intuit it without being told.
Yes, especially after we've seen Michael at home.
Yes.
And we do work, not much, but we do quite a bit this episode with fathers and children.
We do, yes.
And there's something very upsetting, very poignant really, about the way Michael says, oh, well, that's me out of this father and children's weekend then.
Right, yeah.
You get the sense that he doesn't want to go, but he wants to be able to not want to go, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, yeah.
To at least be able to turn down that option, because there's no way he's going to get Hank.
No.
out to
No.
that. I don't think he'd want to.
No.
And similarly, Maria, too, she has that line slightly afterwards where she says, yeah, that's why I've always thought fathers to be overrated.
Right, yeah.
And she says it almost, straight faced, but she's treading that very thin line between
Oh, yeah.
comedy and painful sincerity.
Yes. Yeah, I could definitely tell how much she was actually missing something there.
Yeah.
Whereas our little glimpse of Alex and his father was quite charming.
It is, isn't it? They're very much the comedic relief when they're together, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
They're just sort of,
They did actually remind me a little bit of my father, too.
yeah. Oh, mine
Kind
was
of
very
that.
much an outdoorsy person, so all I could think watching this was, well, clearly Alex was never put through scouts.
No,
Being
no.
prepared is not the order of the day. The Whitman house.
Right. Yes.
Actually, none of them went through scouts, or Max would have known about the grease fire, too.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, whereas we did go through scouts, and my dad was, I think, at least nominally familiar with the necessities of camping, but just kind of that attitude about him, the kind of absent-minded professor vibe. I saw that in
Yes, that was
Alex's
wonderful.
father as well. Yes.
Well, it also brought back, I don't know if you had to do this, but part of my physical education credit definitely was winter camping for a week in the
Right.
middle of Ontario.
No, we did not have to do that in school, as far as I
Well,
remember.
apparently I got the better week. It was minus 30, but there was no rain.
Oh.
Or something. Yeah. So I'm just watching this with a degree of, well, I suppose it could be worse.
Yes. And I very much liked the highs and lows of the Isabel and Alex scene out in the woods, where we give her the competence again to be the one who's explaining astronomy, which could so easily have gone the other way since Alex is cast as the geek in so many ways. But this is her thing to explain to him, and he's so interested because it's her.
And he's just so wonderfully openly interested
Yes.
because she's
Yes.
communicating this. Yeah, it's just the spending time with her. And
Yes.
there's something
Yes.
about, as you say, I mean, I've often said, talking to people about writing, giving characters hobbies and interests does
Yes.
so much to round them out. We see that here.
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't matter how she came to be interested in stars. She does, and she knows them.
Yes.
And it
Yes.
makes for a lovely moment.
Yes. Though I will nitpick one of the astronomy facts that she drops about Cygnus,
Go
being
on.
that she says it is the furthest we can see from here, which I wouldn't think is quite true if. Well, now I'm not quite sure if she's meaning, just kind of from their area or in the sky as a whole. You would certainly think that the Andromeda Galaxy would be in
Be further.
contention,
Yeah.
but Alpha Cygnus, Deneb, is definitely a good contender for the furthest first magnitude star in the sky. I was doing a bit of research and found that the estimates are still a little bit fuzzy on that score, and Rigel and Orion might actually beat it out, but probably not.
But then, what time of year is it?
Presumably January.
Presumably, in which
And
case.
yeah.
Oh, this is where it becomes apparent I know very little about stars still. I thought Orion was winter and Cygnus was summer.
Yeah. Cygnus, I think, is far enough north that you can probably see it just about any time of year, though you might have to stay up very late, for instance.
Well, why not, if you're going to wait to go traipsing about looking for alien symbols anyway?
Yes, yeah. But also kind of we have that moment where she says that it can't be a date. I thought you understood that,
Yes.
which kind of gets very close to a bit of a thing that we see from Isabel and Alex again, in that she has had no compunctions about telling Max and Michael about, oh, I have a date with a guy I like, is that okay? Clearly indicating that it's not permissible to reply into the negative.
I am asking a
And
question, and the answer will be yes.
yes. And so it's like, okay, so what makes it different with Alex? Is it that she doesn't like him enough to date him, or is it in a weird way that she likes him too much to date him?
Oh, I think it's a mix of things. I mean, we've had Michael saying recently he's not sure they can trust Alex, so that may be part of
Right.
it. But then Isabel's
Right.
dreamwalked him, so I think actually when it comes to Isabel, she's afraid of trusting him too much.
Yeah. Yeah, if she has, I guess, any fear of intimacy issues, which is probably
Because I get the
fairly
feeling that the dates on Friday
obvious.
night are sort of an endless string of people she swaps out.
Yeah.
It's never the same
Yeah.
person twice.
Yes. And for various reasons, I think it's clear to her that dating Alex would be more serious from the get go because he knows her secret, because she's seen how deeply he feels for her.
Well, it's
Yes,
just because he's Alex and so very earnest.
that true. That too, truly, or something.
Yeah. I don't see him going into it lightly either, and so I think that's also the other side of that.
Yes.
And it's okay to socialize with him, but as soon as she calls it a date, that's over whatever that thin line is that can't be crossed.
Right.
Also, I don't think Michael and Max's success and their forays into dating people who know the secret are really ringing endorsements at
Yes.
this point.
No. No. And yeah, I did very much like the kind of back and forth of like, I wanted us to slow down, not come to a screeching halt. Well, then you should have talked to me.
Talking is a thing, it works. You put
Yes.
words out into the air, Liz says words back.
Yes.
Nobody has to worry she's taken up with Kyle again, it's all good.
Yeah.
But no, we do this a fair bit, I think, with Max and Liz, it's reasonable to say.
Yeah.
We circle around this idea of stopping and starting.
Yeah, yeah. There was some attempt, I think, at the very beginning for Liz to make her cold into a metaphor, and I'm not quite sure exactly what that was supposed to represent.
Yeah, I have that in my notes too, that they've obviously attempted to make the cold an overarching metaphor, and I'm just not getting it.
No. No.
What do I have? The cold is supposed to be an analogy for adventure, isn't it? Possibly. I don't know. But it doesn't quite work.
No, no, especially kind of with her description of how, it's something you can't stop, but if you manage it just well, you might be able to. I can't even quite remember exactly what she said about it, so.
I mean, I know the feeling she's describing, that inevitable beginning of a cold where you think if I do just enough, it'll be bearable rather than laid up in bed for 2 days. But,
Yeah,
I mean, I've also got in my notes, why doesn't she just take proper cold medicine if that's the case?
true, yes.
I love Maria, I do. But
Right.
confronted with a cold, I think yeah, Tylenol or something. Surely more effective.
Yes. Something that could be mild if you do all the right things or could knock you off your feet if you're not careful.
That's it.
Yeah, I'm really not sure where that's going.
The relationship with Max? I don't know. I feel like I could keep pulling rabbits out of a
Yes.
hat here, and none of them would be quite the right rabbit.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, usually her journal entries really work for me.
Yeah. Yeah. The one thing which kind of occurs to me is that by the end of it, I think Liz has decided that she wants to get knocked off of her feet with Max,
Yes.
but it still doesn't quite connect with the cold.
No, because there is no earthly reason you would decide to succumb wholeheartedly to a cold.
Yes. Right. And the one father and son relationship that we haven't brought up so far is Valenti and his dad.
Yes.
And I feel like I'm not really sure what it is that motivated Valenti to go visit his father there. I mean,
I think it was
Kyle.
Kyle. This is what I
Yeah.
mean about the forest working a bit like Arden for them, but not for anyone else. They come out of it having grown a bit because Kyle says, "Oh, I feel like I'm the afterthought for you," or whatever it is. I'm paraphrasing,
Yeah.
and that's what you always were to Dad, your granddad. And now I get why you don't get on.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't really think that that landed for me, especially because, like, instead of turning to his father, would be more powerful if Jim had actually
Turn to
turned to
Kyle.
Kyle and made him a priority in that moment instead of going to see exactly what Max and Isabel and Michael were looking at.
Yeah, I think we've got half the Volta to a sonnet here, haven't we? We've got Kyle has the speech he gives Valenti, and that works as an epiphany. And then there's
Yeah.
another piece to that where Valenti has the realization and goes to his father, but we don't see that because we put the words in Kyle's mouth only.
Yeah, yeah, and I think to a certain extent we get that ending scene because we want to have Valenti interacting with his father next week.
Yes, and we need to lay the groundwork for that.
Right.
But is there
Because he
something to
feels.
be said, too, that in trying to repair the one relationship, he's still not salvaged his relationship with Kyle?
Right.
It's almost like Kyle has told him, you need to make me a priority, and rather than say, yes, of course, he's gone, right, that's what I'll do.
Yes.
I'll make it so that I become a priority again to my dad.
Yeah. Yes, I'm actually reminded of a line that Kyle will tell Liz several seasons from now, speaking about his father and grandfather to Liz, that if you're going to start pointing out the ironies in my family, I warn you they never end.
No, but he's so very right.
Yes.
Spoils nothing to say that, because if we start tracking them now,
Yes.
that list just grows.
For our three teenage aliens, we don't really get very much for them at the end aside from a confirmation that this one symbol, the whirlpool, is significant, and the intuition, at least, that Nasedo is back and doing something.
But again, we don't even name it the whirlpool, and I don't understand what it means or how they intuit it. And I feel like we built up the episodes so that they could move their hands over a bit of grass and then do a bit of lawn care, which isn't completely fair.
Yeah, but I am tempted to agree, though. In the broad strokes.
Broadly speaking, yeah, I don't want to condemn it outright.
Yeah. But yes, if Nasedo was interested in other things more primarily, I do wonder exactly how much of his attention he did spare for, oh, hey, the kids may come looking for this.
You'd think, well, that's got to be half the point, right?
I'm not sure. I mean, if he wanted to leave a sign for them, based on what we'll know of him later, he would be quite capable of coming and leaving the sign on the Evanses' lawn, for instance.
The Evanses' lawn, the crash down, West Roswell. There are so many more obvious places they're likely to go.
Yeah.
Maybe it's we don't want to attract attention? But I mean, he must realize that a blinding flash
Yes.
of white light, not unlike St. Elmo's fire, is going to draw attention wherever it goes, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so again, I think that drawing attention, especially drawing the attention of Steven to the special unit, has to be the point, and Max, Michael, and Isabel are afterthoughts at best.
But it seems like a really high risk strategy. Maybe this is just me, but if I'm an alien and Agent Stevens is an alien hunter, it seems like a
Right.
really high risk strategy to divert him into an area of the woods immediately adjoining the village where I know the three alien people are living.
Right.
Especially if I'm also an alien. It's risky, that's
Yeah.
all.
Yes. Yes. On the other hand, it's possible that he felt doing it anywhere else would not attract Stevens' attention quickly enough, whereas he knows that Roswell and Max are on Stevens' radar.
This is true, but why? We don't explain either why we want to attract Stevens' attention.
We don't. Yes. It's a fan wank at best.
No, his goals work for, it just frustrates me.
Yeah. So does that more or less cover our discussion of the episode?
I think it does, unless you have anything
Okay.
we've missed out.
No, I think that will do it for me. So, episode MVP, and I have to admit, I'm really not sure which way to go on this one.
Well, that's singularly unhelpful. Neither am I. What are we picking them for, do you think?
Well, if we're talking about anybody who does do their best to provide some kind of focus or vision for the episode, I think that my attention is actually heading off towards Michael and Riverdog.
So is mine. They have not much to do, but more to do than anyone else that holds together, if that makes sense.
Right.
They're a subplot, but they feel like a more coherent story unit than anyone else in the episode to me.
And since Brendan Fair has already got several MVPs to his name, I am definitely good with giving it to Ned Romero, who has played Riverdog in several episodes, and I believe this may be our last chance.
I was going to say, he's not around much longer, so I'm happy with that.
Okay, Ned Romero. And
that brings us to the ratings.
Yes.
What do you give Into the Woods?
5 playing cards with 2s because of Max changing his winning high card into a 2 during the poker game.
Excellent.
Which I always thought it'd be funny if that actually came up later and somebody either got dealt 5 2s or was bidding based on, we can't possibly have a 2 in the hole because I have so many 2s here.
Yes. I think I will give it 6 Bratwurst.
Bratwurst?
Kyle is going to eat them, remember?
Oh, right. Yes.
There's a record or something.
Yes, excellent. Okay.
If you agree or disagree with us, you can get in touch via Twitter at alienscast, or find us on Facebook at facebook.com/alienscast, or visit us at our blog at alienscast.com.
If you enjoyed this episode, please link to us on your blog, Twitter, Facebook, wherever else you are on the internet. You can leave a review on iTunes and help other Roswellians find us. Our theme music is Epic Trailer Intro by Honey Lemon.
This podcast is released under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives license. Find out more by searching for Creative Commons.
I'm Chris Culworth.
And I'm Claire, and this is Illegal Aliens, a Roswell podcast. Join us next Monday, July 17th, 2017, for a discussion of the 13th episode of Season 1, The Convention,
in which Valenti spends more quality time with his dad, and Max learns that having one shape-shifting alien killer running around is enough to ruin your